crazy dreaming. You're the reason why. Catchy song.
Welcome to 2024 in Sacramento, California. We're going to be playing over at Capital Casino. Playing in the 1-3 game as usual. We're going to buy in for $500. First hand of the day, we pick up ace-5 suited from the cutoff. There is a limper in front of us. I raised to $20. End up getting two callers, one from the player in the blind and one from the original limper. So we're going to go three ways to a flop with 61 in. And the flop comes 8-8-4 with two spades. So a pretty good flop for our hand. We got the nut flush draw. It's highly unlikely that our opponent has an 8. So when they both checked me, I'm going to bet half pot, $30. And first player releases kind of quickly. Second player takes his time, but he eventually gives it up, and we take down the first pot. I'm in the small blind with ace-9 suited. There are a couple limpers when it comes back to me. I decided just to call here. Sometimes I put this in my squeezing range, but other times I'll just call, see a flop out of position with a playable hand. Flop comes out 9-5-3. Good flop for ace-9. I lead for full pot, which happens to be 15 whole dollars. Player to my left puts in the quick call. The other players end up folding out. So it's just going to be the two of us heading off for a turn with $45 in the center. Turn card seems to be a complete blank. It does complete some weird straights like 6-4 and 6-8. But I'm not going to slow down here. There's a flush draw on board. He could have a 9 with a weaker kicker. I bet $40 and he quickly calls. River card comes, completes the flush draw, pairs the board on the bottom. I decide to check it, and he checks it back rather quickly. I show my 9, and it's good. This next hand, there is a $6 straddle, and we have 5 players. Yes, 5 players that limp in for $6. And it's over to me, and I have king-queen offsuit in the big blind. Perfect spot to put in a big squeeze. And what do? I put in a raise to $36. Yes, horrible, horrible, horrible mistake. I should be raising this to $50, $60. Just taking down all that dead money. But instead, I do a little pot sweetener size bet. It's totally ridiculous. I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, it just leads to trouble, of course, because I end up getting 3 of the players end up putting in the call. So instead of just taking down all that dead money with a big raise, I decided that I'm going to build a pot out of position with a hand that doesn't play well multi-way. Yeah, not too bright. Anyway, it gets worse. We see a flop that comes out ace, ace, 10 with 2 hearts. I do have the king of hearts, so I have the nut flush draw blocker. I should probably just give up here, but you know, if you're going to play a hand bad, you might as well do it all the way. So I lead for $30. Trying to get folds from hands like straight draws, maybe a 10. If someone has an ace, I wanted to find out right away. The player at the end of the table in the low jack position, he ends up putting in what I feel is a crying call. So I'm pretty sure he has like a 10 in his hand. So I said, all right, if everyone else folds out, I'm just going to fire big on the turn and take this one down until the dealer puts out a 10 of diamonds. So he just made a full house, but I figure I can still represent an ace, so I'm going to fire small again and then jam on the river. Yeah, not a good plan, of course. He could have an ace, but I'm pretty sure he just has a 10. He puts in the call. River card comes as a blank. Okay, let's stick with the plan. He doesn't have very many chips, so jamming all in is going to be a real easy call for him. But hey, if you're going to play a hand this bad, you might as well just really, really stink it up. So I jam all in, and he tanks for a while. So obviously he doesn't have the ace. Obviously he has the 10. And he's thinking, would Doug do this with nothing? Well, I don't know, but I'm getting a really, really good price. And I only have $120 left, so what the heck? I'll just stick it in. And of course, I tell him he has me beat, and he's happy to show me 10 deuce of spades, and I feel like a complete ass.
You are such a freaking donkey. I've never seen you play a hand as bad as this one ever. Even in Texas, you had some logic. Oh my God, what were you thinking? That raise size pre-flop? That's just ridiculous. Betting into 3 players? That's kind of ridiculous, especially with that small sizing. Oh my God, I understand a bigger sizing maybe as a bluff, but come on. And then that turn bet, you know he has a 10. What the heck you doing? You trying to get someone to lay down a full house in a 1-3 game? Are you just a complete idiot? Jamming the river when he has only $120 left in the stack? What's that going to accomplish? You just want to fatten him up? Oh man, I got a lot of work to do.
All right, I'm trying to shake off that punt. Here I have king, queen suited in the hijack. There's a $6 straddle. One player limps in. I make it 26. It's folded around to the straddler, who decides that he would like to play for an additional $20. The first limper actually ends up folding out. So we're going to be heads up to this flop. The straddler only has like $130 in his stack. Not very much at all. Flop comes out, king high. There are 2 hearts on board, so it's possible that he has some sort of a flush draw. There's also a gutter to a straight. He checks it over. I'm going to continue. I decided to use a smaller sizing of $20. He actually spent some time on this decision, and finally he ends up putting in the $20 for the call. So the 2 of us go see a turn card, which comes up a 6 of diamonds. It does put a second flush draw out there. He checks again. He has less than a pot size bet left in his stack. So I just go ahead and bet $90, put them all in. He releases rather quickly, and we take a small pot down. Sticking with the theme of making small raises when you have a good hand, I have pocket queens on the button. There were 2 players who limp. Both of them have very short stacks, so I raised to $15. I kind of want to get action from one of the bigger stacks, but actually what I end up having is action with all 4 short stacks. Yeah. Flop comes out 9-3 deuce rainbow. Really good flop for my hand. Everyone checks it over to me. I go, it's hard for anyone to have anything here. I didn't think I needed to bet very big because of that, so I bet $30. And to my surprise, yes, I was shocked that I ended up getting 3 callers for the $30. And I'm thinking, what the hell could they possibly have? I mean, they all have a 9? Were they calling for just overcards? I don't know. Turn card comes, ace of spades. Yeah, not the card you want to see when you're holding 2 queens and you got 3 people calling you. But it does end up getting checked around to me, and when it does, I don't think anyone has an ace because I figured they would just stick their small stack in if they did. So I'm going for real thin value here for the $50 bet, just trying to get something out of someone chasing me with some ridiculous hand. I have no idea. I'm pretty sure no one has an ace. But I end up getting 1 caller from the middle position player. A river card comes as another blank. I don't think there's any value to be had, so I just check it back, see what this guy was playing. He shows jack, deuce of spades, so he flopped a pair, turned a flush draw. Okay, somewhat reasonable. All right, I picked up a premium this time. I'm in middle position with 2 kings. I raise to $15, get a call quickly from the player on my left. He has a short stack, been playing a lot of hands. Also get a call from the aggressive player on the button, and the player in the small blind who has also been playing a lot of hands. So the four of us see a flop with $63 in. That comes out 8-8-6 with 2 diamonds. Not the greatest flop in the world. First player checks. Here it doesn't really hit my range, and it could hit one of theirs, so I decided to check it. It gets checked to the player on the button, who is an aggressive player, as I said, and he would be betting a lot of different hands. I do have the king of diamonds in my hand, so I'm kind of blocking some of the flush draws. The small blind calls, and so do I. Turn card comes is a queen of spades. Pretty good card for my hand. First player checks it. I check it with the intention of check raising a small bet by my opponent on the button, because he most likely has some sort of flush draw or straight draw. He does end up betting for $60. I was trying to debate whether I was going to go for the check raise or not, and then I saw the small blind kind of react like he kind of liked his hand, and I go, okay, he might have flopped an 8. If he would have raised here, I think I would have ended up folding, but since he only called, I can't get away from it. I'm just going to call. River card comes as the 9 of spades, completes the backdoor flush, completes a lot of the straights. Don't really like this card at all. First player checks, I like that. I decided I'm checking. It gets to the player on the button who thinks for a while before finally deciding on a check. I was very happy to see that because so many draws got there. First player shows ace queen. I have the 2 kings. The player on the button looks like he had some sort of draw, probably a flush draw that he missed. Small blind did have a powerful hand, but he got there with a queen. I thought he might have an 8. A tight player opens for $10 under the gun, and I decided to call from the small blind with ace-8 suited. We go 4 ways to a flop that comes out 8-6-4. It gets checked around. Turn card comes as a beautiful 8. I decided to bet half pot for value, get a call quickly from the player on my left, and also the player at the end of the table. Now, when I get a quick call from the player on my left, I'm thinking that he might have picked up some sort of flush draw. Maybe he had some sort of straight draw. I doubt he has an 8, of course. Same thoughts for the player at the end of the table. So when the river card comes is the ace of hearts, I decided to go for the old check raise. If someone has a flush, I can get a lot of value. If they didn't, they probably wouldn't get much anyway. So they both end up checking. It kind of sucks, but that's the way it works. Well, I pick up another premium in the hijack. I got ace queen suited. There was a $6 straddle and 1 player limped. I make it 25. I end up getting 3 callers for the $25. So it's going to be 4 of us seeing a flop, and there's going to be $109 in the center. Flop comes out ace king 10, all spades. So kind of an interesting flop. My hand really doesn't look like a flush at all when I bet out for $40 unless I have exactly queen jack of spades. I probably wouldn't be doing this that much with 8-9 of spades or 7-8 of spades. So I think I'm capped here at a set or 2 pair. So I was a little worried. The player at the end of the table, who is a little creative, puts in the call for the $40. He definitely has a lot of flushes in his range, and he probably has a few straight draws also. So, and he's not afraid to put in a bluff. Turn card comes as a jack of diamonds. He checks quickly. Now I could bet big to try to protect my straight, but I figured if I got action from him, I wasn't going to like it. And he's quite capable of making a play and representing a flush. So my thought was, no matter what was coming up on this turn card, I was going to check it back and just call down most rivers. The river card comes as a 4 diamonds, a complete blank. It doesn't complete any of the spade draws if he had a single spade in his hand. If he had a straight, well, we're going to be chopping. If he had some sort of bluff, well, I might be able to pick him off. Knowing that he's aggressive, I think, and I expect him to be betting here, he does announce a bet. He says $110. For that sizing, there's no place I can go. I have a straight. He could be bluffing. We could be chopping. I kind of Hollywood for a second, trying to see if I can get some sort of read I can use later in life. And then I decide to put in the call. He says, good call. He shows pocket sixes, and we get a little extra value by checking this one back. So after about 4 hours of poker, I decided to hang it up. Ended up winning $545, which is pretty good considering I punted off $200 in that one hand where the king-queen offsuit. I played that hand so bad. Zeus was very disappointed in me, and I was more disappointed in myself, I think. I also decided to add a month-to-date chart showing my winnings. I figured it would be a good way to keep you guys up to date how the month has been going. I set the goal for the end of the month to be $4,000. It's something that I think is achievable, but we will find out this year how it goes. Anyway, I ended up battling back, winning a few hands. The game, I would say the game was not that great. I personally prefer deeper stack games with more aggression and more action in it. Shallow games are a whole different breed because most of the players play way too many hands. So the mistake they make is playing too many hands. And by raising aggressively, what you're doing is you're making them play better because then they end up folding. So there's a fine line between the size of your raise and wanting them to continue to play poorly. It's a difficult balance. I'd like to hear some of your thoughts on that. My personal feeling is that it's always better to raise bigger than to take the chance of giving someone a good price to snap you off. Anyway, I do appreciate you guys watching. I hope you had a happy New Year's celebration, and I hope that 2024 is going to be a great year for all of us. So until next time, good luck at the tables, and we'll see you back here soon.